Hi there, in this video I'm going to show you how to create some of these cinematic and abstract whoosh flyby sound effects. They're perfect for any kind of spell sound or power up sound or even any kind of flyby sounds you might come up with, and they're perfect for that kind of stuff. So with that said, let's get into our project here and get started. Alright, so here we are inside of Reaper, and to create these cinematic and abstract whooshes, I actually did them in 2 steps. So step 1 was to use Palindrome. I really like this one because not only is there multiple samplers, there's 4 samplers that you can use to cycle through different folders of different sound files that you have, so that gives you a lot of randomization, but you can also randomize pretty much all the parameters in the plugin here. At the little question mark icon, you can click here and click on the everything button here, and it'll randomize everything. So in here, I imported what I call my sweeteners. They're basically just glitchy sounds, impact sounds, stuff like that. So I think most of them are just impacts and glitches that I imported into here. And all I did really to start off is I brought down the mix of the reverb. I didn't want to have any reverb. I really wanted everything raw. And I started with that. So let's have a listen to what we have here. Right, so nothing very interesting just yet, but it does sound really cool and granular. So once I had this sound, then it was just a matter of adding some effects onto my effects chain here to really beef it up and yeah, just to bring the sound out. So let me go over kind of what I used here. So one of the newest plugins that I've been using recently is Basslane. And this one is great because what it'll do is you can choose any frequency between 10 hertz and 2.5 kilohertz. And basically play around with the width and then increase the harmonics for that specific frequency. So it really helps to bring those frequencies out. And the thing about this plugin is that it's free. So I'll have a link in the description below to check it out. If you don't already have it and haven't used it, I highly recommend it. It's been really great to use. After that, I just added a limiter to boost up the sound. Same thing with the clipper here. 2 dispersers and then another bass lane. This time I wanted to boost the bass rather than the mid frequencies here. So you can see here I'm boosting up 145. All right, so I'm just going to play the sound here, and I'm just going to turn on each plugin one at a time so we can see what it did to the sound. All right, now if I just randomize everything. Right, you can get a lot of cool sounds, textures, and gritty sounds, bassy sounds out of it just by doing that. Now, I should have had a limiter at the end of this, but I didn't here. So anyways, we'll keep going with what we have here. But so you can see here, I printed out 3 different files where I was just randomizing the sounds and seeing what I could get out of these. Once I had that, then it was just a matter of importing them into Faceplant to create a whoosh patch. So let me show you that from scratch. All right, so here is a clean instance of Faceplant, and I've loaded up the sampler here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to import one of these files that I already printed out here into here. So I'm just holding Control and Alt and dragging it into Faceplant, and it should automatically load it in there, just like that. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to want to have a whoosh envelope here. So I'm just going to do that right now. All right, so something like that is good. The next thing that I personally like to do is I like to create the same envelope here, but as a modulator. All right, so this is going to control the sound. This is going to control our effects here. And then the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a separate LFO here. Just going to turn it so that's off, so it just plays once whenever we play our sound. And this is going to be a similar thing here where we're going to do, I want it to be the similar length as the attack of both of our envelopes here. And for this one, I'm going to make it a little bit different here. Something like this maybe. I'm going to make it go like that. And I think I'm just going to bring it down a little bit. Maybe something like that. And this is going to be used for the pan. So if you want your sound to go from left to right, you don't have to do it, but this is what we're going to do here. So if I just play it now. All right, that's what we have so far. Kind of quiet. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to add a few effects to help bring it up our sound a little bit. First thing here is I'm going to add OTT. For OTT, I basically use it just to balance out the frequencies as much as possible. So I bring down the upward and downward compression and just bring the depth to about 50%. That's usually what I like to do. Next here, I'm going to do bring in uber loud. This is going to do a similar thing here where I'm just pushing up with the 3 bands, the low, mids, and highs, similar amounts, just to balance out the frequencies. right? Already it's starting to get a bit louder, a bit better. Next here, I'm going to add bass lane. For this one, you can play around with the frequency. I like to go or start around 2.5K because here is where the human hearing kind of likes to hear. So it's pretty subtle, but it sounds pretty good to me. And finally, I'm going to add a limiter here just to make sure we don't peak, we don't destroy our sound or our ears. Okay, with that now in place, let's start adding some effects inside of our faceplant instance here. So one of the things I like to do is to add a kind of a natural tail to the sound. So right now the sound is pretty dry and it's not in a room or a space or anything. So I like to add a tails. And the way I do that is by adding dual delay. And the mix is very, very low here. I keep it at around 2 or 3%, increase the feedback a little bit in the crosstalk, and that's it. Right, and you can really faintly hear it that it's just adding a tail at the end of the sound. Another thing you can do that I also like to do sometimes is to combine that with the reverb. And with the reverb, I'm going to do a similar thing where I'm going to put it at around 2 to 3%, and I'm going to modulate the mix with our envelope here. So it's going to make it feel like it's in a big loud space right when it reaches the peak of the whoosh here, and then it's going to kind of fade out naturally. All right, next I'm going to add a non-linear filter. This is just going to be to add some distortion to our sound a little bit. So I'm going to bring it down to around 200, increase the drive, something like that, let's say, and maybe we want to modulate the Q here. What you could also do here for the next effect here is play around with the width. So the sound right now is very wide. So as it's going from left to right in the stereo field, like it doesn't feel like it's moving in a linear fashion because it's so wide. So what you can do here, I like to bring down the width quite a bit so it makes it feel like it's more in one specific direction, but now you lose the pan. So if you're doing that, then you have to reassign the pan here. So I'm gonna do that right here, just like that. Right, so without this, and then with it, right? So you can hear without it, like it's very still wide, very stereo, even though it's going left to right, like it doesn't really make sense. This is a better way to do it. Again, doesn't really matter. It kind of depends what you're going for here, but that's what you can do there. Next, I'm just going to add a bit more distortion here. So what I like to do here is increase the drive with our modulation here, and then decrease the mix so that the mix is around 50% when the drive goes up. It just gives it a really natural kind of distortion and grit to the sound without overdoing it. Finally, I'm going to add a filter here, and I'm going to add modulation to the cutoff here. Like that. And then if you want to, of course, have your sound effect kind of liquidy, you can add dispersers on here. It's going to make it feel pretty liquidy. So with that, you have a pretty good patch here that you can use for whooshes. Another optional thing that you can do here is add another wavetable, and I'm going to take out the out here. And what you could do is you could assign this to be a frequency modulation. Like you could decide to make it some FM synthesis, but actually what I'm going to do is not assign it to the phase here, but I'm going to assign it to the pitch. So I'm going to bring it all the way up to 100%. And what I like to do here is with our envelope modulator here is modulate the pitch here all the way down to as low as you can. So basically the pitch is going to go down as it reaches up here. Now what you'll notice is that it's very wobbly and warbly, and it's very distinct when you're doing it. But what's cool inside of Faceplant here is I can right click on this circle here, and actually I can modulate the envelope here even more. So I can go it like this. And now let's have a listen to what we can get. Right, you get kind of this impact sound right at the middle. Though it doesn't always work, or it doesn't always produce nice results, but it can. All right, so that is it. I hope you liked that and found it useful and valuable. If you have any questions, comments, leave it down below. I do my best to answer them. Recently, I've been super busy. I haven't had the chance to really answer anything, but I do read them. So please do comment if you have thoughts or questions or anything like that. All right, if you're interested in seeing another Whoosh sound design tutorial, I'll put one on the screen here where I do some whooshes inside of Vital. And if not, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.